Memory 8 years old. The neighborhood boys are smiling when they say they're going to get knives and come after me. I go into the house and find my mother at the stove. I ask her for the sharpest knife she has, but all she'll give me is a plastic picnic spoon. She laughs, tosses carrots in the pot, and when I ask her for something more to protect me from what's coming, she pushes onions, pink cubes of ham from a heavy plate into the boiling broth. She doesn't turn her head. So what strange courage sends me from her house? Her blue apron swings away as I take the spoon, examine its opaque curve in the kitchen light, touch it to my lips where it bends at the neck. When I step outside, the boys are waiting in the yard. I can't see what they have flashing in their hands. I let them chase me into the woods. Dead leaves fly like sparks under my heels. I'm so happy to be here today. Thank you all for coming, and everyone at BOA, Bernadette, Peter, Melissa, Al, everybody, thank you so much. I've been dying to make it to Rochester and meet all these fantastic people ever since I found out that BOA would be taking my book, so I'm happy to finally make it here. I had a wonderful lunch today with Boo and with the other poets we're going to read today, and I'm also really looking forward to hearing them read. I just moved back to the East Coast after many years away. As Jack said, I'm lecturing at Gettysburg College right now, and I've been living in California and Montana and Oregon, though, ever since I left New York back in 2004. So it's been a while since I've lived on the East Coast, and I thought that I would start with a couple of poems that I wrote right after I left New York. This is called Remembering Our Last Meal in New York. I eat chirashi sushi, peel the raw fish from their sweet bed of seasoned rice. I know right now the beaten mares on 59th stomp slowly at the snowy curb, take great pitchers of air into their distended lungs, and bloom from between yellowed teeth white peonies against the trees of Central Park. I have tried to forget your light, the way it breaks me open even now and makes me speak, how it glitters in the gutters up and down 8th Avenue, swirling in pools of snowmelt. So many sparkling tea leaves I still read for signs of you. So I lived in New York in the years right after 9/11, and after I left New York, I spent a lot of time trying to reconstruct it and conjure it up in my mind, the place and the time in that place. And so this is a poem from that time and place. The light behind her head, the bright honeycomb of the sky. At night, his long body works above me, late into the hours that make themselves from dust, crafting the landscape out of midnight's cloth, pulling Stockholm from behind the moon, its blue skies rendered in Delft ink, the cobblestone piers that part the water at its glistening seams. And then the summer, evenings on the Hudson, a New York he's making in my legs now, those runs past Ellis Island, Our Lady of Liberty swung out beside Tribeca's ragged shoulder, her fragile skyline shaped with dusk's gold filigree. There are the deaths that terrify me still, because they have not happened yet. He'll wash them from my eyes with Japan and all her colored scarves, wrapped around the limbs of trees that forget themselves in blossoming, like the flowering corset that is the world doing up her stays each morning, shaping herself again to hold us all in semi-precious light. So I was the Marjorie Davis Boyden Wilderness Writing Resident for 7 months after graduate school, and this is a really unique residency for writers. You're given 7 months in a cabin 2 hours down a dirt road from the nearest town. It's completely off the grid. I had a little CB radio so that I could call out if I cut my leg off with a chainsaw or something. Luckily, that didn't happen. But it was very remote, and I was very unprepared for the experience. Many wonderful things came out of that time, though, and one of them was the ability to write and read all day long. But it was also lonely out there, and I wrote a lot of really lonely poems. So I'm going to read you one of those. This is called Across a Great Wilderness Without You. The deer come out in the evening. God bless them for not judging me. I'm drunk. I stand on the porch in my bathrobe and make strange noises at them. Language, if language can be a kind of crying. The tin cans scattered in the meadow glow, each bullet hole suffused with moon, like the platinum thread beyond them, where the river runs the length of the valley. That's where the fish are. Tomorrow, I'll scoop them from the pockets of graveled stone beneath the bank, their bodies desperately alive when I hold them in my hands, the way prayers become more hopeless when uttered aloud. The phone's disconnected. Just as well, I've got nothing to tell you. I won't go inside, where the bats dip and swarm over my bed. It's the sound of them shouldering against each other that terrifies me, as if it might hurt to brush across another being's living flesh. But I carry a gun now. I've cut down a tree. You wouldn't recognize me in town, my hands lost in my pockets, 2 disabused tools. I've retired from their life of touching you. So Montana is the place that I call home. Even though I didn't grow up there, I didn't go to school there. I first moved there in 2006. But I fell in love with the place, and my family is there. And so one of the parts of it that I fell in love with is hunting. And it's something that I do with my dad now. He goes out every fall elk hunting and deer hunting, and I like to go with him. And so this is a poem that I wrote after my first experience going out with him. The body or it's not. I have plans to kill a creature. The best I can explain it is, I'm afraid of what will be left, a hoof, the jaw, one sun-dried, soft as oat's ear. That walking through the woods next year, I'll find these easy relics and be reminded that winter trees are not skeletons, that every metaphor for death deals in blood and bone and our stunned approximation of their sudden absence. What's the difference between a body we love and the trappings that make it? My soldier who returns home without his hands, the fingers somewhere else still doing their slow work of pulling a trigger. So you see, I also write a lot about the body. The body seems to find its way into all of my work. I try to, occasionally I'll sit down and I'll say, I'm not going to write a poem with the body. in it, and then it's all about the body. But this is a poem that I knew when I started writing it, that it was all about the body. This is called The Lake Oswego Girls Soccer Team at the Hilton Pool. I cannot stop watching their sylph bodies leave and return to the water, each nub of soft flesh, their dimpled hides. They're playing Marco Polo, screaming out colors, purple, turquoise, gold, sending bright sparks of water over our heads. As each takes a turn standing on the edge of the pool, I get to watch their bodies at a stage of rupture. The ferocious budding, so young it's not begun yet to collapse in on itself, each fragment still holding to the unfinished form. I can't remember when my body didn't look the way it does now, fully broken open, split up the middle, and pouring out. They still believe their bodies are their own, that they are shaping themselves, choosing the form they'll take, as if they could know the curve of the palm that will cup their breasts, how their bodies will work to receive another. Even this, they think they will decide. Why would they doubt their own flesh? What do they know of betrayal? This next poem is called Diagnosis. There are a variety of ways to respond to despair. Drinking, weeping, picking fights in bars. I took a lover under the stairwell of a brownstone at a party in Brooklyn. It was winter, had been a week of button collars and long black coats, of the nurses from St. Vincent's taking their cigarette breaks huddled against the hoods of ambulances, pale blue scrubs flapping at their knees, of hot dog vendors working stiff bottles of ketchup and mustard in their gloved hands, of corner bodega roses frozen fast in their buckets of water. It was also the week I learned my body could do itself harm, arriving at the doctor's office, cheeks bitten red by cold, the nurse saying, "Sit down." All I remember from that party were his hands moving in quick dressage under my blouse, the tangled carousels of dust motes falling from the stairs above our heads, and how every time I wanted to cry out, instead I made that tender bird of desire nestle in my mouth. All bodies hold secrets. My lover's armpits were whittled ampersand hollows. I clutched at the spaces that were not there. So at this lunch today, we had an interesting conversation about ghosts, and we ended up talking about what we believe in and the afterlife. So I thought I would read my poem, What Afterlife? Twilight might be called a gray scarf pulled over your lover's eyes, and the bicyclist's body cutting swiftly through it is a beautifully composed semaphore like the shape meaning makes in a set of signal lights at the end of a darkening runway. Two orange sticks, crossed, then waving, motioning inward. I should be telling you about fireflies, the containment of light, how we work to bring it closer to us, into our bodies, into a glass jar with a screw-on lid where it can shine and reverberate in the ever-thinning air. Instead, I think of my 5th summer, the day I lost one shoe over the side of a sailboat, it sinking away from me into the untreadable dark. The soul is composed of infinite planets sucked into black holes, and what comes out the other side, light or its golden shadow, is each our own. Like those fishing boats that ride out to the world's curve each evening, their string of bobbing lamps, nothing more than an infirm constellation pinned to your child's ceiling. I want to read a poem from The Keys to the Jail, which is really about the prisons that we make for ourselves, the people that we make ourselves into, the rules that we make for ourselves. So this poem is called Some Advice for Both of Us. Just once, let the glossy body lie in its own tangled grasses. Admit the doors, uncoupled from their latches to allow us through, were ones we shouldered open. This is not the way, forcing fruit to sugar in our hands. When our mothers told us to love, they meant that we should wear warm socks to bed. Look at their beds. If the garden is not a garden, and if its tiny lamps illuminate only their own darknesses, we must hold ourselves inside forever. This is what oceans are for. This is why 2 a.m. Because now that touch is less of a medicine, less touch. Thank you all again for coming out today. I want to read just one more poem for you. I want to end with a poem that is the closest that I get to a love poem. This is called 4th of July. If I have any romantic notions left, please let me abandon them here, on the dashboard of your Subaru, beside this container of gas station potato salad and bottle of sunscreen. Otherwise, my heart is a sugar packet waiting to be shaken open by some other man's hand. Let there be another town after this one, a town with an improbable Western name, wisdom, last chance, where we can get a room and a six-pack, where the fireworks end early, say 9 o'clock, before it's really gotten dark enough to see them, because everyone has to work in the morning. I'm not asking for love anymore. I don't care if I never see a sailboat again. Thank you.